We are back for video 2, the breakdowns of parlays. I know a lot of people out there see the screenshots, parlay this, parlay that, single game parlays, turn $10 into $100,000 with these 5 crazy bets. And people think they're playing it safe by only doing a 14 parlay, but we're going to be telling you what's safe, what's not safe, how to possibly attack parlays, or maybe the best approach is to stay away from parlays. So we're going to be breaking down on our sports betting and DFS Academy at Win Daily. Make sure you check us out at windailysports.com. But let's get right into the parlays now. I'm Jay from windailysports.com. I'm paired with Dave here. Look, we've been betting for a long time, playing DFS at a high level, betting at a high level, and look, I'm going to tell you right now, I barely parlay. I really barely parlay things. It's just not a thing I do. It hasn't proven to be a long-term winner for me. You know, at times, maybe a 2-team or a 3-team parlay just for the fun of it, but not because I think I'm going to hit it, not because I'm overly happy, say, oh, I got these 3 locks, I got to bet it. No, I don't talk in locks. I don't talk in these must win because this is going to be such an easy bet to hit. It's not like that at all. I'm responsible. I'm looking at this for the long term. But right now, Dave, I want you to break down in the simplest form what a parlay is, and then we'll get into how to build parlays to pay out big numbers if you want to go that route, or how to play maybe slightly safer ways to attack parlays. But Dave, what is a parlay?
A parlay is just simply put, anytime you add 2 bets together or more, you've just turned your ticket into a parlay. So any 2 bets you combine, and then you can extend it out to 15, 20, you've just created a parlay. And like Jason said earlier, for Vegas, for odds makers, for sports books, the best win rate for people is a parlay, and people being the sports book. Parlays are hard to hit, and they're not long-term success, but they are fun. And that's why people play them, and that's why there are opportunities to have some fun with them. So what's a standard parlay? Standard parlay, a 2-team parlay. Let's take, for example, our 2 normally juiced bets. Normal juice is 10% at a sportsbook, meaning a 110 bet to win 100. 110 to win 100 is the normally juiced bet. You take both those odds in 2 normally bet games to 110 bet games, and you get a parlay worth about 3.6. That means if you put 100 down, now you're winning 360. So it's attractive to people. But again, when you get into the parlay world, if you lose one on that entire leg, your bet's over, and all the money goes to the sportsbook. So parlays, big risk, big reward, but they are hard to sustain over a long period of time.
Yeah, a lot of newcomers who come to me for questions say, hey, you know, I'm playing it safe. I'm only doing a 4-team or a 5-team parlay. I'm like, dude, that's not really safe. You know, it's not really a bet that you should be making every single day, because the chances of you hitting all 4 teams or all 5 teams, even if you've done all your research, it's rather tough. The sports books love these 4-team and 5-team parlays because, yeah, they'll pay out some, and there'll be some sharp bettors out there that can take advantage and, you know, shop around and get good numbers to throw into a parlay. And they got some favorites that aren't juiced up, and they can go out there and hit some parlays. But for the casual bettor, the average bettor, you know, I would stay away from as many parlays as possible. Now, the one type of parlay that I would suggest maybe dabbling in is when you take 2 favorites. You know, say you really like, you know, a basketball team, baseball team, football team, hockey team, whatever it is, and it's minus 200. And you're just like, this team is definitely going to win. You're feeling really good about it. And you have another team on that slate that's a minus 250 or even a minus 300, a big favorite in any sport. You parlay those 2 together. Now you have 2 big favorites who should win the game. They're heavy favorites for a reason. And you parlay them because you like to bet both those teams individually, but you don't want to pay the juice, and you want to try to get as close to as a 1-to-1 payout as possible. That's a good time to take 2 big favorites or 2 minus 200 favorites and pay them into a parlay. But Dave, everybody wants to hear about these big parlays. So if you were attacking a parlay, would you prefer to bet, 5 traditional minus 110 spreads on 5 different NFL games, or, looking for a high payout, or bet maybe 2 or 3 games and throwing in some underdogs who are maybe plus 160 or plus 180. What do you feel like is the right build for a parlay that you're trying to hit for 4-1, 5-1, or 6-1?
So for me to build a parlay, I would tend more towards those minus 110, the standard juices. If I'm going to bet anything plus money, I'm going to probably sit it by itself because plus money is already a big risk in its own. And I don't need to include that in my parlay. So I like winning plus money bets, but I like leaving them to the side by themselves. I like your strategy as well of doing what we call the money line parlays, combining 2, 3, 4 money line favorites. And we talked about money line earlier, taking the spread out of it, using a higher juice rate, like a minus 200, combining them together to bring together that 2-1, 3-1 on 4 games you really like. So for me, the money line is my first preference parlay. And then next, it would be the standard juice parlay. Adding plus money, I think, just adds too much volatility that I'd rather just play on the side by itself.
And we know what the sports books want. What they prefer above all is not just the regular parlays or the traditional bets. They love these same game parlays because they know the average bettor is not good at math and they can't calculate what the odds should be. So they force people into a same game parlay. They put nice little ribbons around there and they try to give you some auto suggested same game parlays and maybe even boost them. But I stay away from same game parlays. It's tough enough to hit a bet straight up. It's tough enough to take your favorite bets across all the games and put them into a parlay. But it's even tougher to try to, basically nail every outcome or several outcomes in the same game. But Dave, explain a same game parlay and what you should look out for, in respect to the proper odds and the odds calculator for these same game parlays.
Yeah, when you get into same game parlays, normally you're getting into players' odds, right? I mean, there are some other game odds that you'll mix into a same game parlay, but a same game parlay is anything from that game that you can build together, whether it's quarterback passing touchdown, running back rushing yards in football, who's going to score first in the game, who's going to score last. It's so many different things you can do and put together. And why they're so risky and volatile as well is, a game environment never plays out exactly how you believe it will, but the books know that. But you don't. You dream of it to be 38-35, but how many 38-35s actually exist? A couple a week, if that. So that's why it's risky. That's why it's volatile, because if the game doesn't play out exactly how you envision it, you're going to see some bad results, and just one bad one will really hit you off kilter. So, yeah, same game parlay is very tough to hit because you need 2 things to happen for both teams to play at that rate and that pace that you're looking at to even hit one parlay, which is tough. That's why a lot of people spread their parlays out over many games, 1 player from each game, because that can happen much more easier than 5 players from one game over exceeding expectations.
Yeah, and the big thing you gotta look out for too with these same game parlays, they juice down the payouts. They also potentially juice out the player props. They might give you different lines for a particular player because you're putting them into a same game parlay. So really be careful about the same game parlays. Really be careful about shopping your lines. A great way to maximize your output is going to the sports book who pays the best odds on a particular parlay. Look, if I'm going to be betting a parlay, I want to make sure I get the best odds possible. And if you're taking an underdog and you're mixing them into your parlay, that can really, really affect your parlay in a positive way by getting a number that might be, instead of being plus 200, it might be plus 280. Will go a long way in a 2, 3, or 4 team parlay for yourself. Shop your lines across all books. Be responsible when betting, casually or betting these parlays and betting spreads. You can mix anything into a parlay. You can mix money lines with over-unders, with, spreads themselves. Only thing I'll suggest, if you want to go the route of these same game parlays, make sure they correlate. Make sure if you're going heavy on the points of a couple players on one side, look how many of the players can go over. Some of them should go under if the other ones are going over. So you can bet unders, you can bet overs. Try to have some correlation if you're going to be betting one way versus the other. That's the one thing I'll suggest. We're definitely here to help you turn your love of sports into a profit center. So go to windailysports.com, hop in that expert chat. That's Dave, myself, Tony, Sia. We do a Sirius XM show. We can coach you there. We can coach you in our expert chat. We can coach you on windailysports.com. So make sure you lock in with us across all platforms. Like and subscribe to the channel. We'll be back with more of our Sports Betting Academy and Daily Fantasy Sports Academy here at Win Daily. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back for another show real soon.